Hi, and welcome to the Success Path show where Christian business owners share their tips for success to show you how to reach your kingdom goals more effectively. I'm your host, Violet Dietrich, and I'm so excited about our guest today, Gladys Diaz. And Gladys is a dating and relationship coach, author, and speaker whose mission is to empower women to have the experience of loving and being loved every day of her life. Recently named one of Yahoo Finance's top 10 love coaches, together with her twin sister Michelle, aka the Love Twins, Gladys specializes in teaching professional women to remove the love barriers that have kept them stuck in the past so that they can welcome and experience new and extraordinary love into their lives, and empowering them to transform themselves and their lives from the inside out. As part of her global mission, Gladys also coaches relationship coaches around the world to create a successful, heart-centered business that enables them to help other women attract and create a prosperous career doing what they love. Welcome, Gladys.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, that's so wonderful that you're here, because as I was telling you before, that I get invited to different workshops and different challenges about marriage. And I ask the people that are hosting these, what do you think about marriage? And what I get is negative things. Marriage is hard, marriage is work. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got to be a love coach? And also if you can touch on some of those things that people say about marriage.
For sure. So the quick version of my life is, we grew up, my father passed away when we were 3 years old. And so my mother, two little toddler twins, right? It was the love of her life. She lost him when she was about 23. And that had us come to Florida. And a couple years after my father died, my mom remarried. And I think they loved each other. I just don't think that they had the skills. There was constant arguing, lots of disrespect, throwing things, bad words. And eventually it got so bad that they did end up getting divorced. And so, here we were, at this time we had our little sister, and it was now the four of us by ourselves. And soon after that divorce, she met another man who very quickly, I mean, at first on the outside, he was charismatic and fun, a lot younger than my stepfather, who I loved, but here's this new person and everything was fun and exciting. And pretty soon we found out that he was physically abusing my mother, and he was a professional boxer. So when you think about that, he was a champion in his country. He knows how to hit, he knows where to hit. It was very difficult. We went from this pretty normal life to a life of constant fear, so much dysfunction, poverty. We fell into poverty because he couldn't keep a job. And my mom had always been a stay-at-home mom. She was an entrepreneur. She always did Jafra and Avon and all of these things, but she didn't, she just was so afraid. And this whole situation, we would hide, we would have to run away and hide, and he would find us. It was just a very, very tumultuous, my preteens to about 15 years old. And this triggered in my mom. He was an alcoholic. She also became an alcoholic. And we later found out that she was self-medicating from bipolar disorder, which took my mom, who was always the Kool-Aid mom. Everybody was at our house. Our house was always like the lawn with roller skates and bikes, and to a woman who we wouldn't see her for 3 days. Like, she would leave her $3 alone for 3 days, 4 days. And it got to the point where one day I came home and I saw a sticker on our door, and it said, the rent hadn't been paid and that we were going to be evicted. And up until this point, nobody knew what was happening in our home. There was like this school was my escape. I didn't want anybody knowing about the chaos, that was happening in my house. And we ended up having to go live with our uncle. A little sister went to go live with her dad, our stepfather. And I share all of this because I think that when people think about relationships, a lot of times they think, well, I didn't see it growing up, and, my parents, and there's like this blaming of my past. And I often say jokingly, but true, Michelle and I, we really are the poster children for the people who shouldn't have happy, loving marriages and families that are thriving. And that situation really did a number on my self-esteem. I went through a dark period in my teens. You know, my mom doesn't love me. Who the heck's gonna love me? Was making a lot of bad choices. And thankfully, I had a friend who was relentless about inviting me to her youth group. And I was like, dude, I believe in God. Like, I don't need that stuff, you know? And she's like, just come one time, just come one time. And I did. And they said, oh, who's coming to the retreat this week? And everybody raised their hand. I had no idea what they were talking about. I raised my hand. And that moment, that 3-day weekend changed my entire life. I gave my life to Christ. I had grown up in, you know, going to Catholic school. I had a relationship with God, but that was the line in the sand moment for me. And earlier that day, because it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, earlier that Friday, I was walking down the hallway and I saw a friend that I had gone to school with since kindergarten. We knew each other since kindergarten. When I moved in with my uncle, I had to leave the school, but we had gone to school from kindergarten to 10th grade. And I'm walking in the hallways. He's like, oh yeah, I'm in concert chorus. We're competing against your school. I was like, oh, cool. That night when I walked in to the retreat, he was one of the members of the music ministry. And I was like, oh my God. Well, first I was so relieved because it was in Spanish. And at that time, like, you know, my Spanish was not bueno. And so I was like, clung to him because he was the one person I knew at the retreat. He taught me how to pray. We became best friends. And a little while later, we fell in love. We dated for 3 years, and 5 years into our marriage, like right after our 5th year anniversary, we found out that he had cancer. And I was 25 years old. So was he. That was not on our plan, you know, for till death do us part, you know, in good times and bad. It was a very big shock. He had to have his arm amputated, a year of chemo and surgeries. They could not keep up with the cancer. And there was no treatment for his type of cancer. There was no, like, they were trying experimental things. Thank God, about 11 months later, he was in remission for 1.5 years. In my mind, I mean, we had so many people praying. We would have prayer sessions in the chapel at the hospital. Like, people were coming to Christ there in the hospital because there was so much faith. And 1.5 years later, he started with a cough and a cough and a cough. And we find out it had, because it was originally in his arm that he had amputated. It had gone to his lungs and it was spreading like wildfire. They just taking parts of him, you know, surgeries. And one Friday I walk in and the doctor says, there's nothing else that we can do. Mm-hmm. And I was like, he's 28, I'm 27. Like, what are you talking about? And we had our completion conversation the next day. We told each other how much we loved each other. We forgave each other for everything. We thanked each other for everything. And he told me, I want you to be happy. I want you to fall in love again. I want you to make somebody else as happy as you've ever made me, which I couldn't even be in that conversation because I knew what he was saying. I knew he was saying goodbye. But almost 1 year later, when I had gone through, I mean, because when he died, that was a Friday. He went home. On Monday night, we had some friends come. We, you know, did some singing and praying. And that night, he said, I can't breathe. He woke up in the middle of the night. And I'm like, oh, you took off your oxygen. Let me go fix the oxygen. And when I came back, I saw him take his last breath. And I was just screaming. I couldn't believe it. And the moment that he died, for whatever reason, this truth came into my head that I will never love or be loved again. It was like, how do I breathe? I'm never going to love again. I can't believe I'm 27 years old. Nobody's ever going to love me. And I didn't realize until like 6 months later that I was saying that to everybody. I had never heard it until the day I heard it. I feel like it was an out-of-body experience where I was like, I heard myself tell somebody, and I can't believe that I'm never going to love or be loved again. And I had a moment when I heard that and I said, why are you saying that? Why would you say that? You're 20, you know, at that point I was 28. Why are you sentencing yourself to a life of no love? And I realized that all the fears and the limiting beliefs of my past came up when he died. Like, I thought I had my happily ever after, you know, I did it, and then he died. And I started to do what I now teach, which is the heart work, which is acceptance, forgiveness, and breaking through fears and limiting beliefs. And 4 months later, I met the most amazing man in the world. He swept me off my feet. We met at a club. I was a youth minister, a music minister. Well, first time in a club. And I was like, I got and stood up that day. So I was like, kind of like licking my wounds. And my friend's like, we're not doing this whole, because I was crying. I'm like, this is why I'm never going to fall in love again. And she's like, we're not doing that. We're going dancing. So we went dancing and I met him and he called me the next day. We talked for 7 hours on the phone. He asked me if he could see me the next day. And that was the beginning of, what's been the past 23 years of marriage. And how I became a relationship coach is my twin sister, at the same time that I was going through all this, my twin was getting divorced. And she went through 5 years of horrible experiences with dating, like addicts, men who were still married, men who were cheaters and liars. And she started to do her heart work. So we're doing our heart work simultaneously. And by the time I was 6 years into my marriage, she had really done some transformational work. She was doing her heart work and she was starting to see someone. And he couldn't decide if he wanted to be in a relationship. So she was like, you know what? I love you and I love me more. For the first time in her life, she chose herself. And she's telling a friend, and she's like, you need to do a workshop. You need to teach this. And so my sister asked me if I would be the married mentor of the group. And I was honored, but I was also a little horrified because at this point in our marriage, after 6 years of bliss, we were at the point where my husband, I was at the sink and he was playing video games. And I was saying things under my breath, but not really, loud enough. And first of all, I'm clanging, blang, 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 so he can't hear his video game. I'm like, it must be so nice to have 30 minutes to yourself. I don't even know what I would do with 10 minutes to myself. Look at, I've got the kitchen and the kids running around and I'm saying all these things. And without taking his eyes off of the television, he reached over, grabbed the remote, pointed at the TV and hit volume up, volume up, volume up. And I was like, it's not only is he not talking to me because we couldn't talk without arguing, now he won't even look at me and he doesn't even want to hear my voice. So when my sister was asking me to be the happily married mentor, I was like, I can't be a fraud. So what I decided to do was I said, you know what? Anything we teach these young ladies, because I had been doing a couples ministry with my first husband. So this has been a calling I've been doing this for over 33 years. I said, anything we teach those girls, I'm going to do in my marriage. Anything we tell them to do, I'm going to do in my marriage. Because I don't want to be married like this. It was so painful. I felt so lonely. I felt alone, unappreciated. I said, I'm going to do whatever we tell them to do. And I started with little things like gratitude, just thanking him instead of complaining. I started, instead of saying, you never, you always, why don't you? It was I need help. And then he would ask, what do you need? And I was like, I don't know what to say, because it never occurred to me that all I had to say was
magic, huh?
I was like, oh, laundry. It sounded like a robot. Laundry, lunches, dishes. No. And he was like, sure, I'll give the kids a bath. I'll do the dishes. And then he came back downstairs and he said one thing. I said, well, it's if I do the dishes, don't redo them. And I went to say, but I couldn't. I couldn't say that because the truth was that every time he did something, whether it was dress the kids, I would say something like, oh, thank you. But next time, that shirt doesn't really go with those shorts, or thank you for feeding the kids, but SpaghettiOs isn't really dinner. It was always a something. And I realized as I was learning to what I couldn't imagine not being married to him, and I couldn't imagine staying married like that. That is the truth. My sister asked me, she's like, do you want to be married? And the only thing that could come out of my mouth was not like this. And I realized that it was my mouth. My mouth almost cost me my marriage. I actually am going to write the book. I already have the URL and everything. That's what it's going to be, because I didn't realize that everything that was coming out of my mouth was a complaint or a criticism, a correction. And bottom line, those are the 3 C's that we teach. It was the big C of control. I was trying to control him all the time, change him, fix him, make him into the version of the man I thought he needed to be. And he was feeling it. What he was hearing with every single thing that I told him was, you're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough for me. And so that workshop that we did with those single ladies, like 21 of them, 5 of them were in relationships, 2 of them got engaged, but they saved me too. Like we blessed them and they blessed me. And we just started doing those workshops over and over again. And pretty soon we decided in 2009 to make it a business, Heart's Desire International. And that's what we've been doing for the past, I can't believe it's been over 15 years because we were doing this way before it was a business. We were doing it on the weekends and on at night. And in 2011, I made it my full-time career because I got laid off from my job, and it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me because I got to do this.
That's awesome. So after you started to implement those things that you taught on the workshop, what happened to your marriage?
So it was interesting because we teach ladies that CPAs. So we say there's 3 things that are the most important things to a man, especially when he loves a woman. He wants to please, like he wants to know that you're happy, but he also wants to know that he had something to do with the smile that's on your face, that he's contributing to your happiness. He wants to provide, and that's not just financially, like he just wants to know he can contribute, which is difficult for strong businesswomen. Michelle and I, we work mostly with entrepreneurial, career-driven, goal-driven women, and it's hard to allow somebody to contribute to your life because you're so used to doing everything on your own. But they do want to know that there's space for them, and they also want to protect. And that's not just like caveman protection. It's protect you emotionally, make sure that you're okay. And many times we take those 3 P's and we squash them with the 3 C's, which is what I mentioned before: the complaining, the criticizing, and the correcting. What I was doing with all the good intent, I was not intending to make my husband feel terrible. I really thought that when I said, if you would just talk to your boss and you would, ask for that promotion, or if you would just be a little bit more assertive, you'd be the manager. Like he just kept hearing over and over again, like nothing I do is good enough for her. So the criticizing, the complaining, and the correcting, I didn't realize I was trying to create safety for myself. So I was trying to control him, and it was literally destroying our marriage. And so how we turn that around? We turn it around with the 3 A's, which is appreciation, which was the first thing I started. It's one of the first things that I give women as a little challenge when they first come to me to do work on restoring their relationship, is just look for 3 things. I learned this from my mentors, my former mentor. I'm like, just 3 things that you can say thank you. And you would think that I was telling them, just take pliers and pull your rollers out on your, it's like 3 things. I can't even think of 1 thing. I'm like, if you look for it, you'll find it. You'll find it. And so I started with appreciation, just noticing it. It gave me a place for my focus to go that wasn't all the things he was doing wrong or not good enough. So it was even the big things, the small things, everything in between. Thank you for taking out the garbage. And we give a little gratitude formula. Those of you who are taking notes, you can write this down. So for appreciation, you can write down, thank you for, and then just put blank. And on the blank in parentheses, put be specific. Thank you for, it makes me feel, and then put blank, be specific. So I'll give some examples. Like, thank you for paying the taxes. It makes me feel so relieved that I don't have to do all of that math, because math for me is not my forte. Or thank you for taking out the garbage. It was so good to, come into the kitchen and the garbage was taken care of. It makes me feel taken care of. When you use that formula, you're letting him know, I saw it, I noticed it, it meant something to me, right? So that P of pleasing and providing are being satisfied. And it's a win-win, because what it does for you is he stores that away as, oh, these are the things that make her happy, which makes him want to do more without having to nag or complain or criticize. And it becomes this beautiful cycle. Gratitude is one of the biggest ways, even your own energy, your own mood, to shift in an instant. So that was the first place I started. And then also I started admiring, I started remembering, why did I fall in love with this man in the first place? So I would tell him things like, I really love how honest you are. I love the way you're the way you are. wherever you are. Like one of the first things that I loved about him was how authentic and honest he was. Well, fast forward 6 years, I was saying, you don't have a filter. You just say what comes into your mouth. I was criticizing him for the thing that I was like, you're so honest and you're always authentic. And then also, with the affirmation. So I would say the things. So appreciation is thank you for. Admiration is what I love about you, right? So it's about his character. So appreciation is about what he does. Admiration is his character. And then affirmation is those things that you want to continue to see happening. So I love the way we laugh. I love it when we laugh together. I love when we can just be silly with each other. I love that you just listened and you didn't try to fix it. Thank you. And now I can couple that with appreciation. Like, thank you. I really feel heard. It makes me feel heard. Those three things, Violet, just started to turn this relationship where it was kind of like we had a 5-minute time limit on how long we could talk. It started to become peaceful again. We started laughing together, which is a very important thing to me because he always made me laugh. And then I was like, we never laugh. And there was one day when we were sitting on the couch and we were, we would laugh about things with the kids, but it wasn't like our internal jokes and the little things that we had that made us us. And I forget what we were doing. We were sitting on the couch and we laughed like till when you're like crying and you can't even breathe. And I was like, in the middle of it, I'm going, it still makes me want to cry. Like we're laughing together again. And a lot of people think that it has to be hard, that we both have to go to therapy and we both have to go to coaching. And I did not make him responsible for my transformation. I knew when those words were coming out of my mouth, like, if you would only this, and it would be so nice if I had 30 minutes, and it must be great to finish work at 5, and you don't have, like, I didn't even like the sound of my voice. So I don't blame him for turning up the volume because I was getting on my own nerves because it was always something to complain about. And so I said, I'm going to do this because when my sister asked me, do you want to be married to him? And I couldn't say yes. That scared me.
That's a big warning sign.
Yeah. I was like, not like this was all I could manage to say because it was the truth. So I remember saying to myself, and my sister said, well, my sister and I were very like direct coaches. So she's like, well, you better figure out what to do because complaining isn't a strategy that's working for you. I was like, because I was like the third time that week I had called her to cry, to complain about him because we'd gotten into another fight. So I remember thinking, I'm not committed to divorce. My family is rampant with it on both sides. And I said, so I'm not committed to that. What am I committed to? And what I promised myself was that if I was going to leave, it was going to be after I did everything that I could on my part. That didn't mean being a doormat, because I had seen my mom do that in a physically abusive relationship. It didn't mean not having a voice. I needed to learn what to say instead. I needed to figure out, why was I sabotaging the best, my second once in a lifetime? Why was I sabotaging that? So I went back to the heart work. There were fears. And anytime you're trying to control someone, fear's at play. You're trying to make sure you create the outcome, even if, in trying to control another person, which you can't. You can't change your husband. You can't fix your husband. And what you can do is look to see what's not working and what can I do instead. That's what I did. And now when my husband comes to my events and he speaks on stages, the first time he said, I can talk about it, I can't hear him say it. So the first time I heard him say this, I was like in tears, but he was like, I just started to notice, he goes, I didn't want to say anything at first because he didn't want to like jinx it. He's like, she might go back to being like how she was. He said, but I saw how committed she was to transforming herself, and that inspired me to want to become a better man. And every time I hear him say that, it brings tears to my eyes because I'm looking at my bookshelf. I've got all these certifications, awards, acknowledgements for my professional career, which he was very proud of always. But this is different. When he says she inspired me, none of those things hold a candle to my husband feeling that I made him want to be a better version of himself as I was becoming a better version of me and the real me. Because the real me is not that whiny, woman. That wasn't me. I was just so scared that I was going to mess this up. And
Wow.
constantly acting in fear.
So Gladyss, what's the verdict? Is marriage easy or not?
Marriage it does not have to be hard. It does take work, but it doesn't have to be hard work. That's why we teach the hard work in our company. What's hard, here's what makes it hard, is trying to fix, change, and control someone. Is trying to get your partner to want, think, and do the same things that you want, think, and do. It's trying to control somebody. That makes it hard. When you learn how to speak in a way, and I'll give some examples just so that people know. When you learn how to say,
we only have a few minutes to.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna give an example though, because if I say don't complain, here's a very common one. You never take me out anymore. That doesn't inspire anybody. But if you say, you know what I miss, or what I'd love to go out this weekend, do something fun. There's no man on this planet who's ever been inspired by nagging. But there are men who are inspired by the idea that they can make you happy. And when you learn how to speak in a way that inspires instead of requires, you will start to get everything that you wanted without having to control it.
And Gladyss, these sound like magic phrases. And I know that you're going to have a challenge coming up where you're going to be sharing a lot more tips, a lot more ways to help women to have a wonderful marriage and for it not to be hard, but to it to be from the heart. So can you tell us about that challenge that's coming up and also about your freebie?
Yes, for sure. So the freebie for, like you said, the magic phrases, we actually have, here's what a man wants and needs. Here's what a woman wants and needs. And how do you communicate that in a way that your partner can hear you? Because if you're not saying it in a way that he can hear you, you're having two different conversations. And that's why people argue. And then 2 hours later, you're like, that's not even what I meant, but you're realizing that 2 hours later. So we're going to give you the Decoding the Opposite Sex. It brings, like, I always have it here, but I don't see it. It brings a little cheat sheet with all these phrases. It also, we're also giving you the CPAs so that you can have them with examples and non-examples. And then you also get a free call with someone on our team so you can bring your specific situation and say, look, this is the thing that keeps coming up in my marriage. What can I do? And our team will give you 2 or 3 steps to start taking right away so you can start experiencing transformation in your marriage like that. And then the challenge is called the Manifest Your Love Vision Now. It's a 5-day challenge. We're going to have each of you are going to come and you're going to create a love vision. A love vision, you know, people are doing resolutions and goals because it's the beginning of the year. A love vision is the vision that you have for this year and beyond. And we're going to teach you every day. We're going to do something fun. There's some sort of experiential. It's not like these challenges that you're just sitting there watching somebody teach you. You're going to do something every single day that's going to break away a fear, break through a limiting belief, break through a dysfunctional pattern that keeps showing up in your relationship. And it's going to be done in a fun way so that by the end of those 5 days, you've also got your plan. You've got your plan for making your love vision a reality in 2022 and beyond. So both of these things are like super like concrete. It's not theory and fluffy woo-woo stuff. It's like, here's what you can do, here's what to do, and then you get the results right away.
So who is this perfect for? Is this only for people that are struggling in marriage? Like, does the woman have to want to stay married, or who is this perfect for?
Well, sometimes women come and they work with us because they're trying to get clear. Is it healthy for me to stay here? Is this the right place of, is this marriage right for me? Remember, I would tell myself, oh, did I rush into things because I was lonely, because I was widowed, like when things were bad, like, did I rush into getting married? And it's the same man that I'm like madly in love with right now, 23 years later. But if you're looking for clarity, you can come. If you're single, I don't know about you, but even when we do things for married women, single women always come because they want to learn. And you want to attract the person that you want, it's great for you. And if you're in a marriage and you're like, whether it's good and you want to take it to, we always say it's great, but you want to take it to amazing, you can come. If it's not where you want it to be and you're like, you know what, let me, like I did, like I said, let me try everything that I can on my end and see if I can create a transformation and an inspiration in my marriage. Or if you're just like, you're really, really happy where things are and you just want to have some fun, bringing fun back into your relationship, it really is bookend to bookend. You're creating your vision. So it's perfect for you wherever you are. You just are going to get clear on what is it that I want my relationship to look like this year. And then we give you the plan for carrying it out 2022 and beyond. So by the end of the year, you're like, wow, I remember 3 months in, I was like, I can't even believe that 3 months ago, I was wondering if I wanted to be married. So this is 5 days of fun, inspiration, and transformation. And I hope everybody comes. It's just going to be great.
Amazing, amazing. We'll put the links to both the freebies that Gladyss is offering and also the details for the challenge that's coming up. You said February 8th?
It starts on February 7th.
February 7th.
For Valentine's Day. So you're set up for a really great Valentine's Day.
For sure. And Gladyss, what social media place is the best where they can reach you?
The best place for us is Facebook. We have 2 places. If you look up Heart's Desire International, you'll find our business page. If you look for Heart's Desire Sister Circle, that's where the magic is happening, because that's our free group. We just have people apply because first we want to make sure that it's all women, but we also ask you questions like, what is your number 1 goal? If you had a question we can help you with, what would that be? And we actually take those answers. And that's the training that we give every single Tuesday when we do Love Chat with the Love Twins, which is a Facebook Live that we do every Tuesday at 6 p.m. So look for Heart's Desire Sister Circle. You'll see a picture of myself and my twin. I know we don't look like twins, but I've got the baby pictures and the birth certificate to prove it. We were identical until 15, and then we're like, we're gonna look completely different. But if you look for Heart's Desire Sister Circle, just answer the questions, because we do use that to inform our training. And then come in and you can see questions that people are asking, coaching that we give. We do impromptu videos. I'll probably do one today since I'm already camera ready.
Might as well.
Might as well. I do my hair and makeup. And so those are the best places. We're also on Instagram and Twitter, but this is where we serve the most, is inside of our Facebook group.
Okay, so we'll put the links in the description as well. That way they'll be easy to find. Yeah. And Gladyss, one last question. What is one thing that you can tell people that are, either that they feel like, oh, they failed in marriage, or maybe they failed in business? What is one thing that Holy Spirit is telling you to share to people that are discouraged right now?
So the first thing I want to say is that your past, that's why I started with my past, your past is not a predictor of what's possible for you. It's an informer, but it's not a predictor. Your past is just to inform you of what worked and what didn't work. You get to create the life, the love, the business, the happiness that your heart desires. And so it starts first with, okay, what can I do? Because if you're looking at what he needs to do, it's wasted energy. What can I do to inspire myself? What are the steps that I can take? Learning what the steps are and the order in which to do them, with the intention. This is the key. With the intention of breaking through. Anything that you do with the intention of breaking through. And of course, women of faith, if you have a desire in your heart, trust that God placed it there, and that he's not going to dangle a carrot in front of you and then not give you the desires of your heart. But we also need to listen and be obedient. If what you're doing hasn't been working, get curious, learn what to do instead, and then trust that you can and will have the happiness, the life, and the love that your heart desires.
Yes, beautiful. Gladyss, thank you so much for being here. And to the viewer, make sure that you like this special Valentine's Day episode and share it with your friends. Invite people to this challenge, because more marriages that are stronger is going to be more beneficial to the church out there and to the world at large. So thank you again for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.